This week on What to Watch, we get the inner scoop on Outer Banks Season 2.
Give me some boogity, baby!
Then magical realism, crippling self-doubt, and possibly an asteroid collide in Mr. Corman.
All right, good morning. Happy Monday.
Plus, we're going to Oklahoma in the groundbreaking new series, Reservation Dogs.
I just with you.
Pull a Rebel Wilson and start brushing up on your Britney choreo. It's time for What to Watch. At last, M&M's mix, all together in one bag. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Entertainment Weekly's What to Watch, the show where EW staff help you solve your viewing dilemmas. I'm your host, Gerrad Hall, and also in shock that MTV is now officially over the hill, which I guess it means I am too, our digital writer, Sydney Bucksbaum, associate editor, Derek Lawrence, and digital news writer, Tyler Aquilina. Hey, everyone, how are you?
Hello.
Hello.
Great to see all of you. All right, diving right in. Last week saw the return of hit Netflix series Outer Banks. The show follows a group of North Carolina friends, aka the Pogues, who are on the hunt for some missing treasure. The adventure continues in season 2, except this time the Pogues and co. take the action from the OBX to the Bahamas. So, Sydney, let's talk about this new season. Where does it pick up, and what can viewers who haven't watched it yet expect?
Yeah, things pick up immediately from where the finale cliffhangers left off. But the Pogues are left back in Outer Banks. That's just JJ, Kiara, and Pope. And they think that John B. and Sarah died in the hurricane in the finale. And so the season picks up on like a really down note for them. And meanwhile, Ward is also trying to move on from Sarah's death. But he really frustratingly escapes any kind of consequences from what happened in the finale. But on a lighter note, John B. and Sarah are alive and they're headed for the Bahamas. They're still on the hunt for the gold that Ward stole from them. So things are looking up for them. They're down, but they're not out.
Okay, so all of that said, you're saying like this season strikes Royal Merchant gold. It's not going to hit rock bottom. Don't tell John B. I said that.
That is the kind of pun that JJ would make, so nice job. But
All right.
yeah, on like the treasure hunt side of things, season 2 really does up the ante, and it's just like a really fun adrenaline ride from start to finish. But if you do tune in for the romantic intrigue between the Pogues, the romance isn't as big of a focus this season. However, I did talk with the showrunners, and they promised that they were going big on teen romance in season 3. So even though you might have to wait a little bit longer to see if, you know, JJ and Kiara ever do act on their insanely incredible chemistry, we will see eventually.
Let's talk about some of the new faces here. The villainous Carla Limbri and Cleo, whom Sarah and John B. meet on their way to the Bahamas. So what role do these new characters play here?
Carla Limbri, played by Elizabeth Mitchell of Lost fame. Absolutely love her. She represents a new kind of villain for the Pogues, which is really exciting because she's got a lot of similarities to Ward. Like, she's super rich. She wants what the Pogues are after with their whatever treasure hunt they're on. But she actually has nothing to lose because she's dying from a terminal illness, whereas Ward has everything to lose. And then as for Cleo, she starts off as an enemy of John B. and Sarah when they first meet, but expect that to change very fast. I will say there's a reason why the Outer Banks fans have been loving her so much on social media. So she's a great new character.
How does the season finale change the game?
It ends on kind of a big cliffhanger, and it's something so huge that it'll really blow things up in a major way in a third season, both for the Pogues and their enemies. It's really got far-reaching consequences. I think season 3 is going to be the best season yet.
All right. Sounds like there's a good end game here, a good arch that they have planned out. All right. Thanks, Sydney. We need to take a quick break, but when we get back, we'll see if Mr. Corman and Reservation Dogs are worth tuning in for. But first, today's fan moment is brought to you by M&M's Mix. We polled fans to find out which Outer Banks character they most want as an OBX tour guide. Sydney, who'd you pick? Who would you want for your OBX tour guide?
Well, now I feel bad and I want to pick Pope, but I would definitely pick JJ.
I mean, I think
I'm so sorry
you're kind of
to
in the
this
same boat
man.
with a lot of people. It happens. Derek, Tyler, do you guys watch? Do you have a preference here for a tour guide?
The only thing I know about this show is everything that Sydney just said, but it was gripping. She's the expert, so I got to go JJ. I mean, clearly that's the right answer.
The only answer, apparently. Yeah, all right, guys, stay tuned. We will be right back. Welcome back. Hey, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, because I'd like to introduce all of you to Mr. Corman, a show about a kind and sensitive school teacher who spends his after-work hours worrying about his faltering relationships, mourning his withered artistic ambitions, and warding off intrusive thoughts of doom. The heartfelt 10-episode series is the latest project from Renaissance man Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who plays the lead, Josh, and also writes and directs. So, Tyler, having said all of that, does Mr. Corman get bogged down with all of that poignancy, or does JGL add enough levity to nail the balancing act?
I wouldn't say it gets bogged down. I think those dramatic elements are very much a part of the texture and point of the show. When I spoke to Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he really talked about how much he wanted the show to feel like real life, in spite of these kind of bursts of surreality. There's a very distinct, kind of animated style that sets those sequences apart. There are some full-on musical numbers that happen. Those sequences are kind of meant to capture not necessarily how something actually is, but how it feels when you're going through it. So I think it all does, fit into the emotional texture of what the show is doing.
Arturo Castro, I think he's so funny. He plays Josh's roommate, Victor, and at one point, the series does divert away for an entire episode to follow his character around. So how does Victor help to develop Josh's character, and will anyone else in the supporting cast get a similar spotlight?
His showcase episode is so great. It's definitely a standout of the series. He serves as an interesting kind of point of contrast. They both have, their issues and emotions that they're sort of sifting through. But I would say Victor is by nature a more kind of optimistic person and, kind of helps Josh to maybe look at the bigger picture. And the rest of the supporting cast doesn't quite get the same type of spotlight, but they do all get their moments to shine. Also, Deborah Winger as Josh's mom, I do want to shout her out because she is very interesting in terms of kind of showing you why Josh is the way that he is.
All right, moving right along. Premiering August 9th is the new series Reservation Dogs from the minds of Taika Waititi and Sterling Harjo. The comedy, which will air on FX on Hulu, follows 4 Indigenous teens in Oklahoma who are willing to do whatever it takes to make their way to California. So, Derek, tell me about the show. What can viewers expect?
There is a plot to it, but not too much. It's kind of like, I don't want to say it's like a hangout show, but you're just you become invested with these 4 kids and they want to get away from their home in Oklahoma and they want to escape to California, and they're kind of funding that through some small time crime. There's a new gang that kind of comes into town and they decide to kind of flip being more of vigilantes instead of the criminals.
This group of teens here, they lost their friend the year earlier. It really seems like his death is the catalyst for a lot of their adventures. So how does it handle more serious subject matters like grief?
Sterling's really the one there, on the ground in Oklahoma, his home state, kind of running the ship every day. And his point was kind of our communities always deal with everything through humor. So that's kind of the same thing here. And includes, the circumstances and what has happened to them, but shines a light on there's more to them than that.
Okay, so let's turn the attention for a second from the characters to the actors, because this young cast is getting a lot of praise.
Yeah, I mean, every series regular, writer, and director on the series is Indigenous. That's, unheard of for, them to be able to really do that. And also, as Sterling said, actually said it in Oklahoma, which is, a lot of places would have just substituted, New Mexico, because there's an infrastructure there. But they're really trying to bring some authenticity to that. And that started with the cast. Like you said, they did street casting. Most of these kids had never acted before, had never been to LA before. And they were kind of, but the weird thing is they were not in awe of the situation. like, Taika's there for their auditions, and they're like, oh yeah, Thor's pretty cool. Like, yeah, like what are we doing here? Like, what's going on?
What kind of impact do you think this kind of show, coupled with, this past spring, we also had Rutherford Falls, which same kind of situation. What kind of impact do you think these shows can and should be having on the industry?
When you can put the name of Taika Waititi behind something like this, and if this becomes successful, that's only just going to, be like, hey, maybe we should do something like that. Like, maybe we should invest the resources in doing something like that. There are enough people out there, talented people, to have a cast that's fully Indigenous, to have a writing staff that's fully Indigenous, to have directors for each episode that are Indigenous. So you can't say that, oh, there's just not, we can't find these people. Like, look, they just did it. It's a good show. So, like, that's, at the end of the day, if it's a good show, you would think that would lead to more good shows.
We love to see it, and hopefully more of this continues to happen. All right, folks, that is it for our show. Thanks to my guests, Tyler Aquilina, Derek Lawrence, and Sydney Bucksbaum. We will see all of you next week on What to Watch.